Thank you, Mansi. Pleasure to be back with another set of very distinguished founders. Some of the faces you are very familiar with. Just as a preamble to this session, when we started IvyCap IvyCap about 10 years ago and before that, a lot of experts told us that India is not good in making products. India is a services country. We can't build products. Our companies basically provide people. We can't, we don't have the mindset, don't have the skills, don't have the domain expertise, don't have the channels. There were an entire list of reasons why we could not do that. And yet we sit here 10 years later, where most people would bet their money on tech giants coming out of India, lots of tech-driven companies coming out of India. They already have, right? And some of them are in our midst today. These are all gentlemen who and ladies who run, tech-driven companies, SaaS companies, but with, interestingly, who are not only targeting the Indian market, but who are successful globally. So let's hear from them with a focus on what does it really take to win in international markets. Now, just as a start, can we just go around the table and do a 1-minute summary of what is it that you do, what is the problem you are solving, and just some bullet points on where your company is at. Obviously, Tamanna, you have the pleasure of, you have the right to lead the way, so start.
Thank you so much, Ashish. Hi, everyone. So I'm Tamanna, the co-founder of Convocite. We are a community marketing platform. We're first such platform in the world. We enable community creators to monetize through meaningful brand partnerships. And we enable brands to tap into closed group communities, specifically Facebook groups, Reddit, and WhatsApp, for both insights and marketing. We started our journey by building our own communities and the whole tech stack around it for growth and monetization. And last year, we pivoted to building Convocite. We currently have about 50,000 communities with close to 370 million managed members on Convocite, and we work with about 50 plus enterprise brands globally.
Great. Venkat, you want to go next?
Hi, this is Venkat, founder CEO of Vinculum. We are a SaaS omnichannel brand. We work with both high-growth D2C brands and traditional brands who are launching D2C brands or trying different business models going more digitally. So the primary problem we are solving is to help brands to reach customers across online, offline, and social, and to unearth models which can easily help scale them globally. So we've created an ecosystem of digital partners who can help brands scale globally. So when we look at the different areas which we work with practically every part of the e-commerce ecosystem. Work with about 800 odd brands with about 50% revenues coming from India and good presence in Middle East, Southeast Asia. We are at a 6.3 million recurring revenue, and we expect to grow 2x year on year from here. Yeah, that's essentially what we're targeting to reach.
Sure, thanks. And Tamanna, just for clarity, which markets are you working in right now?
So we started from India, but we've just now started working in Southeast Asia and US.
Got it. Rasik, can you go next and tell us about what GetMyParking does?
Sure, Ashish. Thank you for having me here. So I'm Rasik Pansare, co-founder of GetMyParking. We are a smart parking platform which converts real estate of parking lots into intelligent mobility hubs. We are out of India, but like Ashish said, we are made in India, but made for the world. We are operational in 17 countries across all the 5 continents, with majority markets being Europe and US. What we do essentially is it's a B2B SaaS platform which does end-to-end digitization of the parking industry and serves all the stakeholders who would need parking data. So be it automotive manufacturers, mapping companies, e-commerce delivery who need parking data, or typical end consumers who want parking app to look for parking, pay for parking, as well as integrate parking data into car rental, shared mobility, and EV charging ecosystem. So we look at parking as a real estate which can enable a lot of other services around the car as an anchor to upsell other value-added services. But in order for that to happen, you need technology infrastructure, which the parking industry doesn't have anywhere globally. And we have a very unique solution, which is IoT driven to integrate, control, and transform any parking real estate anywhere in the world, sitting from India.
So, in which markets are you in, Rasik?
Like I said, 17 countries, but Europe is our major focus area. It has been major focus area in the past. We have in last 1 year started attacking US market really strong. And in last quarter, we have also opened up, customer bases in Australia and Brazil and Middle East, Dubai.
Who would have thought that a smart parking will come out of India, right? I mean, that's really interesting in itself. Ashish, you want to go next?
Sure, Ashish. Hi, guys. This is Ashish Mehta, co-founder, CEO of OnlineSales.ai. What we are doing at Online Sales is basically trying to disrupt the whole BTL or the below the line marketing space. For folks who don't know, so below the line marketing or the co-op marketing is what is also called in the industry, but it essentially is a space where a lot of brands spend money with their sales channel partners of sorts, right? So it's unlike, let's say what Venkat was saying, the D2C brands. A lot of brands are trying to go D2C, but a significant amount of spend also happens through the channel partners ecosystem for brands, right? And these can be large brands or small brands. So imagine, let's say like a L'Oreal, and L'Oreal sells through 20,000 salons in India, for example, right? So and there's a significant amount of transaction that happens between L'Oreal and the 20,000 salons. Now this BTL market is about $2.4 trillion market globally, significantly large. And yet only 3% of this transaction volume is about digitized, right? Almost 97% is not digitized, and hence lack of transparency, measurements, analytics, control, etc. All of that is lost somewhere in between. So that's basically the space that we're trying to sort of digitize through an enterprise SaaS software. Right? So that's basically what we do, right? And a bunch of apps as part of that stack. But that's basically what we are enabling as of right now. As of right now, I mean, we work with about 30 amongst the large 30 omni-channel retailers, as well as about 20,000 plus brands through these retailers out there, trying to digitize the whole co-marketing space there. And we're present across about 7-8 countries, especially in Southeast Asia, Middle East, and Africa. And in 2022, we are looking very aggressively to push in the US and the UK markets as of right now.
Thank you. Nipun?
Thanks, Ashish. I'm probably the only non-co-founder in this entire panel. So I am Nipun Jain. I take care of Bijli's business in Asia and Africa. Essentially, what we do is we take smart meter data, electricity smart meter data, and just using that data, we are able to tell our customers in terms of what is their appliance ownership, as well as how much of each of those appliances consume on a hourly basis or on a half hourly basis. So that's our core technology, and that is by the way without using any kind of hardware. That is just on the basis of the consumption, the 30-minute consumption interval data. So it's truly an AI product which we have. We are building many use cases. We have actually built a lot of use cases around customer engagement, energy efficiency. In India, we have developed a new use case called theft detection rather. Globally, so we are actually a Silicon Valley based company, but our, let's say, most of the brains of the company sit out of Bangalore in terms of data science and other groups. We have around 40 utilities across the world on our platform, with over 30 million, serving over 30 million customers. So we process, their data, 30 million consumers' data on a daily basis. And primarily our presence is in the US, in Europe. We are actually present in most of the developed countries. And we have started focusing now on countries like India, SAARC, Southeast Asia, and Middle East, and obviously Africa as well. The main challenge for us is the penetration of smart meters. So I think as soon as, and as fast as these smart meters can penetrate, the faster is going to be the traction for our product. Thank you.
So very interesting. We have a mix of different types of players, some which are actually overseas, like from the US, but who have their brain sitting in India, but trying to globalize from there. Rasik and team, they are again India brains, but you're starting with the European and US market. And then of course, we have others who started in India and spread across Southeast Asia, Middle East, many other countries, US, etc. Right? Now, I want to go straight to the heart of the question. In terms of when you are looking at these markets, what gives you the right to play and right to win in that market? What is so great about what you guys do and what you bring to the table that you expect to win in international markets, being a very tiny company? Tamanna, you want to go first?
Sure, Ashish. So we're creating a new category. When we talk about digital marketing from a brand's perspective, there was really no concept of community marketing or tapping into closed communities. So whether India or international, this is a new category, and this is the first time they have the opportunity to, the ability to do it at scale. Specifically for international markets, like a market like US, there's massive spends on digital, much more than what it is in India. For a number of brands, more than 50% of their spends are on digital. And all of that is sitting on the other open social media channels. So it's very interesting. We're probably the youngest in terms of entering international markets right now. And we're using a very different approach. Despite having all the learnings from India, we're going through a assumption validation exercise right now in US. So we've actually tied up with a partner, and we're just going in with discovery mindset for the US customers. And what we're discovering is that although they feel the need to tap into, they understand that the consumers, that's where they're engaging, that's where they're talking. And for those that have even looked for solutions, there are just no solutions out there. So we're doing something very unique, and we're creating this category. So we're super bullish that we'll be able to penetrate, and I'm sure that we'll have our own learning journey, but we'll be able to create a mark. Also, from a community creator perspective, there's just more and more people that are building communities and joining communities every single day. So that whole ecosystem is, over the last few years, been expanding like crazy, whether it's Facebook, Reddit. So right. Our hypothesis there is very strong that this entire community creator economy, this needs to be created, and we're leading that charge. So
you're basically a pioneer in the space that you are in, essentially in community marketing. Could you give us a quick sense of how, when you talk of communities, what kind of members are you talking about? How big are you in that? How many members do your communities have?
Yeah, so that's what I said that during our intro. So we have about 50,000 communities right now, with close to 370 million members that use ConvoSite to manage their communities and monetize. And that's across 75 countries, but about 70% of that is from India right now. And about 20% is from US, and then
370 million members is larger than most countries in the world. Barring a few, there are not too many countries bigger than that, right?
There's 1.8 billion members in communities.
So you have
so we're just getting started.
You're getting started. Still a long way to go. Interesting. Rasik, what gives you the the right to play and win in markets so different? Like and yours is a business which is so local, where very local decision making and so on. So how do you build a stack of products and technology where you can win in these alien markets?
So the strategy we adopted is first of all, what gives us the right to win? Let me answer that, and then I'll come to the stack that we adopted. What gives us the right is that we didn't know we had a right, honestly, Ashish, first. So for first 2-3 years, we just kept targeting the Indian market, struggled quite a lot, understood the economics don't work here. And that's when, we decided maybe we can go to Southeast Asian market. That's the first step I think Indian entrepreneurs think of when expanding internationally. But when we were thinking about Southeast Asia, we landed up winning a competition based in UK. We went to Europe. And as chance would have it, we realized that there's opportunity in Europe as well. And the more research we did, we realized that being from India, we actually have an advantage over these already developed countries. The advantage is that just like my mother never used Skype for video call. WhatsApp was her first video call tool. So we skipped the entire desktop digitization process and moved to mobile smartphone digitization. So that helped us because we had developed complete parking end-to-end digitization platform with mobile in focus and cloud as focus. Whereas all the automation in the parking industry globally has been desktop based and local server based, no cloud connections, no apps, no QR codes, nothing. So we actually realized what we have is an advantage. We just need to now adapt to the business rules, to compliance and many other things while going international. But of course, now coming to your second question, it is a very local business, not even at a national level, at a city level. So parking as an authority that regulates parking, that authority is at a city level. The municipal corporator has the highest authority. So which means even if I have to enter Germany, Berlin will have very different parking policies and rules from Frankfurt, and that will have very different from Munich. So the strategy we adopted was, let's focus on what's common. Let's build the tech platform and, just become a tech enabler to these local operators. Let's not get into the local nitty-gritties and local complications. Let a local operator look at all the operations and customer acquisition, branding, etc. Hence, we went white label. We took inspiration from Shopify. Not just Shopify, but many other global distribution systems for airlines like Sabre and Amadeus, as well as credit card companies like MasterCard and Visa Card. So our idea was that MasterCard never contacts the end consumer, and the end consumer never interacts with MasterCard. It's a local bank which does all the local operations, but the technology for the credit card is given by MasterCard sitting in US. So that's the same thing we are doing. Sitting in India, we are giving parking technology for all the parking lots around the world. So and there are local partners at a city level who are taking care of operations.
Got it. Venkat, how about Vinculum? Why are you winning in international markets?
If you look at even pre-COVID, right, means the whole aspect of people shopping online was an increasing opportunity. So we had actually built for a product which enables brands to tap into that. But when we look at what happened post-COVID, when the whole digital space has exploded. So we moved from what is low teens percentage online to about 21% revenues globally. Possibly it'll settle at 30-35% online revenues. So when we think about that, there's so many different trends which have emerged. D2C brands scaling in a big way, traditional brands trying to compete and either launch their own brands or unearth different business models by bypassing the retail store and delivering direct to consumer. We are enabling every potential, or I can't say every potential, but we are actually working and enabling brands on each of these different business models. So practically, if I look at it from the perspective of the kind of use cases we are building, it is like, it gives so many different flavors there. And the disruption is happening on a global scale. So when the beauty of what we are doing is we could actually go replicate in any country in the world. Means all I need is in terms of getting the product ready from an ecosystem perspective, I have to do the localizations for the product in terms of integrations. But we are enabling people to sell on the online channels, and we are enabling this on a global scale. So most people are doing this domestically, but this opportunity, what we are really looking at is, and it's very fragmented. If I look at Asia, if I look at South America, even the traditional markets, right, the big markets like US, Europe, Australia, the players are all who had built products for the pre-COVID world. So here we have an opportunity to go, frankly, any market to go set up in 4 months and start, becoming a big local brand. And that's really where the opportunity is. Great product market fit, all the market forces coming together, and all it takes is, for us to replicate what we have done.
Great. I got a question here from someone in the audience. Why go global? Why should entrepreneurs in the tech space go global? So maybe one of you can answer that. Ashish, you want to try that?
Sure, Ashish. So I think it's a general question, but yeah, I think depending on the space that people play, right, or different companies play, right. It's just the market sizing and where the opportunities lie, right. So for us, especially online sales, the market is significantly larger in the West out there, and of course, India and Southeast Asia, the developing countries are actually expanding, their digital or digitization space, as even Rasik was saying. You're skipping the whole generation of desktop, etc. But the digitization is happening at a very fast pace. But if you limit yourself, especially on the enterprise tech sort of things, to one country, let's say in India, there is typically always a little room, unless you are a B2C company, which is consumer companies can have much depth, let's say in large economies like India. From a tech perspective, I think it just makes a lot more sense to expand outside of India. The other angle also is that the technology, because it's a tech SaaS, right? It's more replicable, I would say, based on the use cases. Of course, regional nuances need to be applied, but those are fairly incremental. They're not step up function to, let's say, take a stack that we have built here in India, and if we were to deploy this in Vietnam, for example, there's very little incrementality that we have to build on top of the stack, and suddenly the stack is now relevant for the Vietnamese market, and similarly is for the US market or the Latin America market out there, right? So being an enterprise SaaS or enterprise tech company, I think the replicability of your stack with a very little incremental efforts, and also the depth that you get in the Western world is what I would say is so much more lucrative to go west. And also the unit economics is much better, right? So building it out here in India, I wouldn't say it's cheap anymore. I think people have started outsourcing things to the US already, but it's if we play smartly, I think we can build it much more faster, nimbler, in a more efficient fashion, and really compete well in the other markets where either the cost of skills or the lack of skills exist out there. So that's my
and better price points, I assume, right?
Exactly, and better price points as well. Yeah.
You spoke about standardization of products. Now, that's something I want to explore. If you have a stack here, it's applicable in Vietnam, Middle East. Not necessarily always the case. So do you really have to, what has been the experience in this panel? Do you have to modify your products for various markets? And you will have a point of view, certainly, which is on one side of the spectrum. What's your experience in taking the same product or building the product for different markets?
So you asked me, Ashish?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think as far as the tech stack is concerned, I don't think we have changed that. It has been, like Ashish mentioned, I think it's fairly easy for us to replicate whatever we have done as a starting point to do it for any country actually in the world, any utility in the world. So what we focus on is essentially the use case, because when we started off, let's say, going outside our comfort zone of developed utilities, or I would say deregulated utilities, the challenge we were finding was that what we were selling was not meaningful for the utilities because they were actually monopolies. So they really didn't need our product to keep their customers intact. So for us, it was more of a use case thing rather than technology. We still use the same technology. Obviously, we work on that every day to improve it, to make it faster, better for our clients. But the stack remains the same, actually.
Any other views on sort of making your product more relevant for international market as you go international?
Just to add to the earlier discussions, means if you look at e-commerce as a percentage of the global market in India, it's possibly 3 to 4%. So if you're talking, if I have an opportunity to go global and I can address, I can obviously increase the addressable market. If I can go into multiple places where there's an opportunity, if I can do it inexpensively, why not, right? So that's one way to think about it. The second thing is, if it could be a business strategy also to focus on a particular geography and set yourself up for an acquisition. There are some companies which do it. So that could be a method, saying that, look, I'll go only after the emerging markets and be an alternative or an aggressive option for some of the big boys who are transforming themselves to buy you out. So while that may not be our thinking, I'm saying that could be a thinking as well in terms of which markets to go after. And if I look at it from our perspective, it's similar, except that from the ecosystem integrations, we'll have to get ready for the market. So which means we aggregate all the channels. So we need to talk to all the channels. That's the only thing we need to build. But the core technology doesn't change. So you can actually launch in any market easily.
So let's shift our focus to success in these markets, right? I mean, what would you say are the pillars of success to get into international markets? Rasik, you want to go first?
Sure. There would be, very different pillars for different domains and business models. But what has worked for, SaaS business like us is that number one is sales channels or partners. So we were not able to crack certain markets until we found some industry veterans who became consultants or sales channel partners. And so you can always figure out the financial model to make it work. But once you have that, it really opens up a lot of pathways for you. So that's one pillar, definitely. The second is marketing, digital marketing. Internet has opened up things like never before. And digital marketing, if done right, with really good expertise of how to keep abreast with all the SEO and all the new things that keep coming every day, then sitting in any one part of the world, you can make sure your product seems relevant and local to anyone else in the world. So someone in Argentina, when they look at our website, or someone in Brazil, they see our website in Portuguese language. If they do any Google search, we make sure we rank really high on those keywords, and hence they will feel that, okay, this is a Portuguese language website selling the smart parking. So, things like that. So digital marketing is really very important pillar, I think. And the third is trade exhibitions. For B2B businesses, be it SaaS or otherwise, I think for B2B businesses, trade exhibitions are really important. We would have never thought that for something like parking, you can have multiple exhibitions where like hundreds of companies only doing parking technology come together, right? But it happens, and it must be happening for each and every domain, I'm sure. So such trade exhibitions are really great also as pillar.
Any additions to that, Ashish? Channels, marketing, and exhibitions. What do you think are pillars of success?
So basically, Ashish, I mean, the way we look at it is there are three key pillars that we look at. I mean, so first, of course, and that may be generic for everyone, but first one is capability, of course, right? I mean, so your product, the experience for that market, etc., has to be very strong out there. But the latter two pillars are very important from success in the international market. So the first one, or the second one, basically in that three categories is the access with credibility. Right now, that can come in multiple different forms, right? As Rasik was saying, digital marketing and localized language website is interesting. For us, because it's enterprise SaaS. Access with credibility is either joining or partnering with credible reselling partners or JVs with local partners there. Provides us the access and the credibility as well. So channel partners. So we partner very well with, let's say, the likes of Google and the Facebooks and the Trade Desks of the world out there. I mean, that creating a joint business plan there with these kind of entities, and that opens up a lot of market access with credibility, right? And that is very important. And the last one that we look at is always the construct, right? Saying that how are you packaging your offering? How do you construct the offering so that you can get some early inroads, right? Lower the friction or the decision time from your potential buyer to quickly test you out, right? And that gives you a lot of validation, access to logos and access to a lot of use cases in those local markets before you start upselling and sell, say, $200,000, $500,000 deals in those markets out there. So these are the three aspects, Ashish, that we look at, and then of course the capability, access, and the construct for us become very important for us.
Well, those are lovely points, great points. Anyone want to add to this? Any other pillars of success in your respective domains? Tamanna?
So for us, it's supply demand, right? We have to acquire community creators, admins, and then the brands. So from a go-to-market perspective, adding to what Rasik said, so there's known organic channels, right, like SEO, etc. But one of the things which a lot of people may not consider is, again, early on starting to build your own communities. So the numbers that I was talking about earlier, that we've acquired 50,000 admins and the 370 million members, about 70% of that has been organic for us. So SEO actually came second. The first thing that we did was very early on went out and built our own community of these potential users, just giving them a lot of value in terms of how to grow and monetize their communities. That is something we definitely want to replicate in the US. We've already done that in Southeast Asia. When we started, we knew it's going to be a large part of our acquisition, but even as we're scaling, it's continuing to stay. So our cost of acquisition is close to zero. That's something we want to replicate. I just want to emphasize again the importance of validating the assumptions. What holds true in India, no matter how standard and similar the pain points may seem from the outside, it's really important, I believe, to go in and validate those assumptions with the users, with the customers. Those 2 or 3 months of learnings will go a long way, because it may not really be the product, but it may be the specific use case or how you package it. So I just think that that's really key to us, and we've told ourselves that we're not going all out until we learn first.
Great. No, thanks for that, Tamanna. I think we are really running short of time right now. There are a bunch of questions here from people who want to understand your products. I think some for you, Tamanna, what's the community? Venkat, how do you help brands? But I think the best way to solve that, given our paucity of time, is to perhaps visit their respective stalls that they have set up and learn more about their products. I just want to thank all of you for this wonderful and insightful session. All of you are building leadership in a niche, and all these niches are large globally and growing very fast. And at least we have no doubt that we have winners in all of you, and you're going on to build great companies and winners out of India, which all of us can be proud of. Again, thank you for your presence, and look out for these gentlemen and ladies and their companies they have built, because they are making a huge difference not only in India but globally. Thank you, and good luck.
Thank you, Ashish.
Thanks, Ashish, and thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, Ashish. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Ashish.
Thank you.